We recently witnessed the creation of the first spot XRP ETF in Canada. The date of this incident was June 18th. Well, what's so crazy about this? Did we get another XRP ETF launch from this first one? This completes the third launch of an XRP ETF. In April, we had the Hashtags one in Brazil. Undoubtedly a large one. I apologize, but the first XRP ETF that we have is the one that was promised, or the Purpose XRP ETF. That being said, we also have the 3IQ1, which I want to discuss here shortly. As I mentioned earlier, I will now review everything. What's crazy, though, is that the XRP ETF market is just beginning to take shape. And I want everyone to know the true significance of this. All of this will be discussed, but let's get started first. Smoke Dog's post is an official marketing for the XRP ETF, aimed at institutional investors rather than regular ones. Invest in the future of international payments infrastructure to take advantage of XRP's development potential in a safe and effective manner. Through an ETF that directly holds XRP, you may access its growth potential and obtain safe, regulated exposure to global payment innovation. Given the robust blockchain technology of the XRP ledger and the growing global adoption of XRP by financial institutions, we think this digital asset has the potential to completely transform cross-border payments in the future. Naturally, Gemini and Coinbase are custodians, and Ernst & Young also audits this. The absurd thing is that this is a commercial for an ETF targeted at institutional investors, where they discuss how to obtain XRP in a safe and effective manner, and how it is really a very potent blockchain technology that is allowing financial institutions all across the world to access blockchain-enabled cross-border payments. Not on the retail side of things, but it's really crazy to watch how huge XRP is really getting. On the institutional side as well. And the fact that they have this historical performance of XRP down here is fantastic because everyone is complaining about how poorly XRP has been doing and how XRP is this and XRP is that. Examine how XRP has changed from July 2020 in relation to the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. Yes, I believe that XRP is doing well. In terms of price movement, I don't believe that XRP is now a cause for concern. What's fascinating, though, is that this is a full-fledged advertisement that explains the magnitude of this change and how important XRP is to it. However, in addition to this, 3IQ once more creates history. We are pleased to announce the 3IQ XRP ETFs, which incidentally comprise several XRP ETFs. Possess XRPQ, XRPQ. This week, U was formally listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. To commemorate XRPQ's first day of trading, our team joined the TSX team in closing the market and ringing the closing bell at the TMX Money. In addition to being a huge turning point for us, this event represents a substantial advancement for the whole digital asset sector. As we continue to create together, exciting times are coming. And, you know what? This is really, really thrilling. You can argue that none of these significant ETF announcements or movements really matter because XRP's price action is doing this, or it is still trading at this price, or whatever. I want everyone to understand what's going on. The market's institutional side is becoming more accessible. Outside of the United States, the stratified push on XRP is quite important. We already know that the Secretary is still hesitating and postponing their next choice on the Franklin Templeton seat, which is why I keep stating outside of the United States. The XRP ETF launches on July 22nd. Guess what, though? We currently have 3 XRP ETFs, and I believe that the 3IQ ETFs actually include 3 more, but I could be mistaken. I am aware that 1 or 2 ETFs were already actively trading in Canada. Some of them include futures. But what is the SEC waiting for now that all of these ETFs have been formally introduced? Here, that is the key question. Are they merely awaiting the formal conclusion of the case? Because, all of these other markets, like Canada and Brazil, are already supporting this in a huge way while we wait for it. Furthermore, I wouldn't be shocked if there were even more ETF announcements centered around XRP on a worldwide scale. We already know that XRP is well known in Singapore, so I'm kind of looking at that country. South Korea would also be very important. We're absolutely keeping an eye on it. Additionally, Coinbase's Chief Legal Officer, or CLO, Paul Grau, wrote a fantastic piece to remind everyone of what happened with Bitcoin in the first place. As Canadians start trading the 3iQ XRP ETF today, it serves as a reminder that innovation is fueled by clear regulations. In 2021, Canada launched the first Bitcoin ETF globally. With an XRP ETF, it now outperformed the US. The US has long since fallen behind and passed regulations governing the structure of the cryptocurrency market. Furthermore, it took years for Bitcoin to receive a spot ETF in the US, so this is a highly important topic to concentrate on. 3 years had passed since Canada had introduced the first Bitcoin ETF globally. We may have had futures ones, yes, but it doesn't really matter, does it? The fact that futures do not really hold the actual Bitcoin in custody means that they do not have any bearing on the underlying asset. However, with spot, it does have an effect on the volume of the underlying asset. For this reason, futures ETFs are of little interest to anyone. They pay attention to the spot ones. Therefore, I do believe that the United States is wondering why we are still lagging behind. Correct? If we believe all of this stuff about David Sachs and how the United States will be a leader, and about Trump and Scott Bicep being all in on cryptocurrency, it's time to take the lead. Since it is already trading live outside of the United States, get this XRP ETF spot trading live in the United States first, and give the other ETFs centered on antique coinage the go-ahead. We already have a real XRP futures ETF trading in the US without a spot. Therefore, it doesn't make sense to have futures ETFs trading in the US. In addition to this, though, we also have Anderson over here. Imagine when hundreds of institutions start holding billions of dollars worth of XRP directly, just like the ones in the pictures below. It's not only about payment volumes. It concerns organizations that have large amounts of XRP. You're not prepared. No, many folks aren't prepared at all. You see, I know that we talk a lot about things that are beyond our control, and we talk about how optimistic some things are. It is crucial to pay close attention to some of the decisions made regarding XRP this year since, let's face it, 10,000 XRP is exceedingly difficult for average retail investors to obtain these days. Imagine now if 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, or 50,000 XRP are involved. Retailers are now unable to reach some of these numbers. I say this because I really believe that XRP will eventually price out a large number of regular investors. Many individuals attempt to discuss the fact that, well, you could always get one XRP for this price or that price. Yes, that is a single XRP. We're discussing holding big quantities. These days, businesses like Wibbies are submitting applications to the SEC for a $300 million XRP treasury management deal. Additionally, Trident named Chain Securities LLC as its strategic advisor and revealed a $500 million financing proposal for XRP Treasury. All right, so we have $800 million simply by these two. As we just discussed, we already know that there are several, like Viva with $121 million and Gistix with $50 million. The fact that an increasing number of businesses are introducing XRP treasuries and a growing number of them are beginning to accumulate. I examine all of Ripple's partners, correct? For example, all of the partners that Ripple currently has are significant institutional entities. All right? I take it that many of them have already made investments in Ripple? Standard Chartered has already made an investment in Ripple. SBI has also been an investor for a long time. When large banks, institutional players, and